மத்திய சரக்கு மற்றும் சேவை வரி சேலம் அணையகம் SIRC of CS ஈரோடு கிளையுடன் இணைந்து நடத்தும் 2023ஆம் ஆண்டின் மத்திய நிதிநிலை அறிக்கையில் கொண்டுவரப்பட்ட மாற்றங்கள் குறித்து கண்ணோட்டம் மற்றும் கருத்தரங்க நிகழ்ச்சிக்கு வந்திருக்கும் அனைவரையும் அன்புடன் வரவேற்று மகிழ்கிறோம். இப்பொழுது சிறப்பு விருந்தினர்களை மேடைக்கு அழைக்கும் நிகழ்வு. முதலில் நமது ஆணையர் மத்திய சரக்கு மற்றும் சேவை வரி ஆணையரகம் சேலம் திருமதி சுதா கொக்கா IRS அவர்களை அன்புடன் அழைக்கிறோம். அடுத்து நமது இணை ஆணையாளர் தீப்தி இஞ்சி பெருமாள் IRS அவர்களை அன்புடன் மேடைக்கு அழைக்கிறோம். அடுத்து திரு பாலமுருகன் CA பட்டய கணக்காளர் சேலம் கிளை அவர்களை அன்புடன் மேடைக்கு அழைக்கிறோம். துணை ஆணையாளர் திரு விநாயக் சார் அவர்கள் ஈரோடு 1 and 2 கோட்டம் அவர்களை அன்புடன் மேடைக்கு அழைக்கிறோம்.
Madam is an IRS officer of 1995 batch, where she was a gold medalist for being the best lady probationer of 1995 batch. Madam is a presidential awardee of specially distinguished record of service in 2015 as additional commissioner service tax audit, Bangalore Commissionerate. Madam has graduated in economics from Osmania University, Hyderabad, where she was a university second ranker also. Madam holds MBA in public policy and management, IIM Bangalore, and masters in business law, Berkeley School of Law, University of California, USA. Madam has participated in various national and international level seminars and training, some of them like course in international public policy at Maxwell School of Public Affairs, Syracuse University, New York, course in preferential trade agreements, World Bank Institute, Washington DC, joint operation in detection of counterfeit technology products in US Customs and Border Protection at San Francisco, USA. And Madam has held top level position as Commissioner of Customs Preventive, Andhra Pradesh, Commissioners Chennai Customs, Commissioner of Central GST Chennai, and Commissioner of Audit Tamil Nadu. And as I have seen from my personal experience, Madam has always been a pioneer in establishing an open channel of trust, partnership and communication between department, taxpayers and businesses. And it is indeed a privilege for all of us to have such a distinguished officer and chief guest among
my colleague, Joint Commissioner Deepthi Injimedu, and my Deputy Commissioner in Erode 1 and 2 divisions, Vinayak, and the ICI partner here, and Edisha President who is present here, and also I welcome the Deputy Commissioner Intelligence of State Taxes here, and I welcome all of you from various sectors of trade and industry, and I hope I have sent a special message to my DC here, Vinayak, to make special efforts to invite some women entrepreneurs here to this budget outreach program. I hope some of you are there, women entrepreneurs of Erode, and all my officers. I am so happy to be with all of you today, this morning, and share not only the changes that are being contemplated in the budget 23-24, which is presented by our Honorable Finance Minister on 1st February, but we are here to share whatever your experiences, any concerns or any issues that you want to highlight to board and the finance ministry through us, so that we can take your feedback about not only about the budget changes. You must have gone through those budget proposed changes already, assimilated them, and would have had examined their impact on your businesses. So we welcome your suggestions on these changes. not only these changes, but so far in your practice of GST, implementation of GST, if you have any issues particularly bothering you, and especially issues could be 3 or 4 main varieties, like you have any problem with certain legal provisions, you have any problem with the procedure with regard to rules, and many of you have problems related to systems. Some of you are saying we are not able to see the 2A till, even though we upload our invoice, till 2B gets populated, and we can see 2B after 14th of any month. Like this, if you have any issues related to systems, law or procedure, we are here to take that feedback from you and also discuss with you the recent changes in the budget, proposed changes in the budget. I especially welcome all the sectors of trade here, and especially Erode is very important jurisdiction in the Salem Central Excise and GST jurisdiction. Salem itself is an important for the entire Tamil Nadu zone, and Tamil Nadu state itself is the 4th biggest in
GST revenue. As you know, the GST revenue is going up every year phenomenally, and the January the GST revenue is about 1,56 crores. In fact, it is 1,55 crores and 992. So now at one time crossing 1 lakh landmark is a major milestone, but now routinely the GST revenue is crossing 1.5 crores. Now crossing 1.4 crores has become just an expected norm for the entire country. So in this endeavor of raising this humongous revenue, the contribution of this great state Tamil Nadu, which has such deep and wide manufacturing base, services base and the trading base, is a vital part. So in this state, especially in the Salem Commissionerate, the Erode has a special place, because Erode is traditionally has been a textile hub, and there are many other industries such as iron and steel, pharmaceutical, plastic, and in service sector Erode is very highly concentrated in transport sector and especially construction sector. Erode, the construction sector of Erode makes supplies to the entire country, not just to in and around Erode or to the state of Tamil Nadu, but to the entire country. The major players who are there in the country, the major construction companies, all of them, and major public sector units like IOCL, these major petroleum product transporters, they use the services of the transport sector in Erode, Namakkal and this area. So this is a very vital manufacturing base, industry base and trade base for entire Tamil Nadu and for us Salem Central Excise and CGST Commissionerate. So I congratulate and compliment all of you for this tremendous contribution you are doing, giving not only the state revenue, for the entire national revenue. So Erode is a very important trade cluster for us. It's a industry cluster for us. So coming to you, Erode 1 and 2 divisions, not only we have very good revenue from them, and one thing from our CGST, I think the same thing is true about the state government also. I think our colleague is here, he can WhatsApp for that. Is what is the department, the service that the department is doing to the Erode trade and the manufacturing sector here is the refund outgo from Erode 1 and 2 divisions is not only the highest in the commissionerate, it is one of the highest in the entire Tamil Nadu zone. So for example, just to give you a glimpse of this, if my tax is about last year it is about 20,000 crores last year, about 50% of it will go for the refund itself. In a month our tax collection is about 500 crores, about 300 crores go in refund itself. So the actually 50% of entire thing that is collected within this my commission rate, 50% of the revenue goes to giving giving the refund, and the refund about 80%, almost nearly 70 to 80% of the refunds are given in from the Euro. So while you are doing an excellent contribution, we are also matching that contribution with the timely refunds for you. So this is a very important aspect, and I congratulate all of you who are doing excellently in the export sector. From all your sectors you are doing excellent exports, and you really deserve this refund in time, because that really is the lifeblood of your business. So coming to the budget changes of this year 23-24, there are certain changes. There are not too many very big changes, but there are certain changes which my colleague Deepthi will take you through in very much in detail. And but one thing I must warn you, that you have to really know your sections and things, because Deepthi will be quizzing you before she presents anything. She will ask what is this section about. So please back of your mind, just check, just have a recall about what is section 17 or what is section 10 or what is section 37. She will be quizzing you just to keep your interest high. So coming to the major changes that would affect you is, of course, I don't want to take much into her thing, but just I want to say 2-3 things which are vital. Is the time limit that is available to you for finally file the returns. So now from the return date you have 3 more years to file the return, and also maybe if you have to make any amendments to the return. But after that your window to make any changes or filing the return totally closes. You lose that period. So making filing your returns completely and correctly is very important, and though you have 3 years time. And another very important factor is now e-commerce is being in our lives, in everybody's life, in the B2B or B2C, e-commerce is a major player. So to more make the e-commerce more consistent, even to make it available to all the small scale players, now even the taxpayers who have opted for compounding scheme, they can supply their goods and services to e-commerce operators. That is one very important change. So now that e-commerce platform is available to all of you, small, big or medium. And another very important change about the e-commerce issue that Deepthi will explain in detail, but one thing is the compliance of tax payment by the e-commerce operators. So even the unregistered person or a compounded levy registered person is registered on e-commerce platform and is passing on goods and services. If the duty liability, the responsibility that the duty has been paid on these goods and services are with the e-commerce operator. So that's a very important provision to make these operators accountable for all the transactions that are happening on e-commerce platform. And there are many other issues like blocked ITC for CSR expenses that they would explain to you. And there are certain supplies to warehouse is considered as an exempt supply and these things. And one more very important thing which really affects everybody and especially the trade and industry in E-Road is the change in the interest provision on belated refund, delayed refund. In case your refund is not sanctioned within 60 days, the present scheme of you are entitled for refund from after the expiry of the 60 days is changed to you are entitled for interest on the delayed refund from the day of your application for refund. So this is an important change that I think that would come in good state for you, but it would make us, my endeavor is to give you refunds within the maximum of 30 days. Maximum, you must be noticing even within 15 days we give lot of refunds within 15 days also, but maximum of 30 days is our endeavor. Maybe sometimes there is some additional information is required that is called for on the platform itself, on the application itself by the RO, or the not RO, the divisional assistant commissioner. So it depends on how fast you respond to that query of some information, and then the refund will be sanctioned immediately after your response to that. And in case there is any reason that there is any show cause notice that needs to be given, that will also be decided within, that has to be decided within this 2 months period. Just because a show cause notice is given to you on the system, we cannot keep the refund pending. And I am aware some of you have some issues, that because I will be seeing a daily refund report I see every day, in that there are some refunds which are shown as pending for more than 60 days, but they are actually cleared from our divisional office, but they have not credited to your account because of some of the issues related to your PFMS, your bank account. Maybe there is a change which is not updated, or that some system after our sanction, that amount has not come to your account. These are the issues. And if you have any issues related to belated or delayed refund sanction, please I would directly mail to the DC. Right now he is in charge of both the divisions. Previously there were two different AC, one AC and DC, the present DC. Please contact the divisional assistant commissioner, deputy commissioner directly. Send a mail to him. We have all of us work through our government email IDs. No, they are not our private emails. So please send a mail to him. And also Deepthi at the end of her presentation will share our contact numbers, our contact email ID. Please share it with us also at the headquarters in Salem. Don't think that you are a different entity, and we are all part of one office. So we will be, because if there is any systems related issue in sanction of that refund, we will be taking it up with the DG systems, because I have seen some of the issues. There would be some technical problem why the refund amount is not passing through even after the sanction is made by the deputy commissioner in his system. So please bring those issues to my knowledge, to our commissionerate email ID, and to the deputy commissioner's knowledge here in E-Road. And you don't need to meet him personally. We see every mail as a person coming to us and talking to us about their problem. We take each mail that comes to us very seriously, and we act upon them, and we keep a timeline to act on these mails. So please feel free to communicate to us through email any of the issues you have in any matter. For example, it is revocation of registration, or it is delayed refund, or there is any other issue. Please contact us freely and regularly, so that we would be really looking forward to your contact with us, and we will definitely resolve your issues. So I want to take this opportunity of coming to you to highlight the budget changes in the budget, and not only that, to have your feedback and have an interaction with you, to know how well and how much more we can be of service to you from E-Road 1 and 2 divisions and from Salem headquarters. So this is my earnest request to all of you. If you have any issue, I think you have got the papers already. Please write them down and don't feel shy. Oh, can I share this information? Can I ask this? You can ask anything that affects your business, and that is your problem. It may be a policy issue also. Please share it with us, because maybe operationally we may not solve it right now, but we will take it up to our board. So we need to communicate these kind of issues, concerns of you on policy matters and procedural matters. We have a monthly report for that, and our board looks at them very seriously, and there will be some solutions that will be threshed out. So I really urge you to take this opportunity to highlight any of policy, procedure, or systems related, computer related, your GST and application related, or GST and front end related, or back end related issues. Any of them, please share them. and please write in those papers and give it to us. And even after, if you have not written at the end of the Q&A session, you can still ask us. We will be noting all these queries. We will, whatever at field level that is possible to resolve them, we will resolve them. If it is not possible from our side, we will take it up with our board, and if it's a systems problem, we will take it up with our DG systems. So with this, and one more thing I would like to highlight here is, it is not just a one-off meeting, once in a year meeting with all of you. We would love to come to you maybe at least minimum of every quarter, and even between this period, we always have every third Wednesday of every month we have an outreach and trade interaction meeting. It is not just limited to MSME, it is limited to all the trade and industry. So we have that meeting. In a hybrid mode, both physical and virtual. So all of you, we will be sharing that link with you. I hope all of you would be able to join in that our monthly meeting, which is every third Wednesday. We have a monthly outreach meeting with all our taxpayers. So from Erode you can join virtually, or if you want to come to Salem and participate physically, you are most welcome. We will be sharing that link to you about 2-3 days in advance, and please participate. And so this is a continuous interaction. You can be in touch with us, and you can take part in our presentations, what are the latest changes and what is expected of us, and all those things. You can be current in the latest position in law and procedure. So I welcome you again for this budget changes and other issues in GST seminar today. And also I look forward to be having more interaction with you, and I hope me and my team will be there to resolve any of the GST issues that you might be facing. Thank you.
I would like to call C.A. Shri Balamurgan, past Chairman SIRC of ICI. Shri S. Balamurgan is a fellow member of ICI and founder of SMPP and Associates, chartered accountant firm located in Erode. Sir has a hold post of Chairman, Vice Chairman and Chairman, SICSA, Treasurer Secretary and Editor of Newsletter of Erode Branch SIRC. He has acted as a member of MSME Tamil Nadu State Level Committee constituted by SIRC of ICI to present the book of financial year 21-22. Also, he is one of the members of CA Career Guidance of SIRC Erode Branch, specialized in the field of income tax, sales tax, goods and GST, central excise service tax, banks branch concurrent and statutory audits, and internal audits of limited companies, private companies, hospital, education institutes and firm, etc. Sir has conducted hundreds of awareness and counseling programs for school, college students regarding CA and professional courses, apart from giving career guidance. So please, sir.
This is my great pleasure on before you for this auspicious occasion. On behalf of Erode branch of SIRC, ICA and EDICI and other members, a grateful thanks goes to our departmental officer, especially degrees or dice, on the dice and off the dice. Be very well known, GST is having a lot of changes on or before the budget or from 2017 itself. Not only a single amendment, it is having more than 2000 notification circulars, including of all the ordinance and additional provisions, so and so. This is the as madam said, this is the simple, that is a very simple and little changes in our budget. It is also making an impact of some of sectors. That is hope Dipti madam will cover all those things. Once again, on the behalf of Erode branch and also all the members, I wish to this program have a great success and a grateful manner. Thank you for your opportunity.
Now I would like to invite Srimati Deepti IP, Joint Commissioner GST and Central Excise Salem, to explain the changes. Madam has also done an executive program on economics, finance, international taxation and public policy at Lee Kuan Yew School of Public Policy, Singapore in 2015. Madam had held the post of Deputy Director, Directorate of Revenue Intelligence, Bangalore Zonal Unit, where under her leadership and guidance, DRI team has detected commercial fraud evasion of basic customs duty of rupees 1,500 crores through data analysis and development of information. And under her team has identified various cases of FTA violations, misutilization of advanced authorization, misutilization of notification and benefits, and MIP violations. Madam has led investigations of FTA drawbacks and other schemes and unearthing of violations to the tune of rupees 9,000 crores. Madam has also represented India at Conference of Customs Officials across Southeast Asia, Asia Pacific, with special focus on risk management procedures followed in Indian customs at Incheon, South Korea in December 27. It's a privilege for us to have Madam speak on the such subject.
One and all, welcome to this session that is being organized by the Central GST Commissionerate of Salem. Once again, we, on behalf of the department itself, I thank our dynamic leader, Mrs. Sudha Koka Madam, our Commissioner, for leading from the front. As you know, we have got these lectures for you, these outreach programs. One of them is on budgetary changes, and as Madam has already pointed out, every month, third Wednesday of every month, we are having an outreach program. உங்களுக்கு இங்க இருக்கிற டவுட்ஸ் இன்னைக்கு கொடுத்தாலும் சரி இல்லைன்னா மறுபடியும் on the third Wednesday கொடுத்தாலும் சரி சரிங்களா. So we will just run through the budgetary changes that have been announced by our Honorable Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman Madam on the 1st of February 2023. One important thing that all of us should remember, the finance bill வந்து வெறும் இப்போ finance bill stageல தான் இருக்கு, இன்னும் act ஆக pass ஆகல சரிங்களா. Once there is an assent received from the President of India, and that will come post the legislative assent, we will have this bill converted into an act. Post that, it will start affecting all our lives. I just want to get a sense, இங்க எத்தனை பேர் what is your interest with the law? Can I know how many of you are directly from the industry? Just a small show of hands. எத்தனை பேர் இண்டஸ்ட்ரியில இருந்து இருக்கீங்க over here? Okay, we have about 10 people. எத்தனை பேர் on behalf of accountants, chartered accountants, associations of that sort, if I can have a show of hands? Okay, thank you very much. And any students here by any chance? Any of the students here? Oh wow. Huge amount of students, wonderful. And what are most of you must be pursuing commerce? I don't think there is, most of you are pursuing commerce? CA, okay, wonderful. Then we can go in depth and I can really pick your brains. For industry, நான் இங்க என்ன சொல்ல விரும்புறேன்னா, the law often seems very complicated. There are many notifications, many circulars, நிறைய changes வந்துட்டே இருக்கு. So what we blindly do, not blindly do, what we rightly also do, நம்ம உடனடியே யார் இருக்காங்க சிஏ அக்கௌண்டன்ட் எனக்கு எப்படி இந்த ப்ராப்ளம்லேருந்து வெளியே வருது, that fear is always there. So one thing I would advise here is pay a little attention as we go through these slides. ஏன்னா கொஞ்சம் அந்த fear அப்படியே வெளியே வந்ததுன்னா then you can yourself also go through. I'm not I'm just telling industry because a lot of times proprietorships don't have the wherewithal to go. And CAs, we really welcome your interpretation, and there is always a constant interpretation that is required, your valuable assistance to the industry. I'm sure there have been other outreach programs, but we will still go through it one more time. In the presentation, inniki, basically we are looking at what are the changes in GST law. So GST law is part of the indirect taxation regime. Customs is also part of the regime. If our service, we will first do a customs and then we will go into GST and then we will alternate. Okay. இப்போ நம்ம இப்போ 2023ல ப்ரெசென்ட் பண்ணியிருக்க பட்ஜெட், if we have a look at it, there are 154 clauses. நான் ஏன் இது clausesன்னு சொல்கிறேன்னா, because these clauses are still part of the bill, and once it is accepted, then only it becomes part of the act, and then we will refer to the changes as sections. Okay. Whereas there are 154 amendments, adula only about 16 amendments are with respect to central GST. Out of the 14 are central GST, 2 are with respect to IGST, which is your integrated goods and services tax. So just 16 to cover, not too many changes. And most of these changes, ninga oru microscopic view la pathina, it is bringing the law into a kind of alignment. so that it is easy to make further changes post the council meeting that is happening on February 18th, Saturday. And also it brings into focus certain sectors, especially e-commerce operators, into the ambit of the law. Okay, without much ado, let's go ahead. As Madam has rightly pointed out, I do have the bad habit, of asking you what does a particular section entail. So let me begin with the first amendment, which is brought in through clause 128. The clause is not important. The first amendment pertains to section 10, that is section 10 of the CGST Act. Anybody knows what section 10 of the CGST Act is about? Sorry? Composition tax. Yes, absolutely right. What is the composition tax for? Okay. Section 9 of the CGST Act actually speaks about taxation for the general public, and section 10 speaks about composition tax, which is, if you look at it closely, specifically for smaller entities, in lieu of not getting an ITC credit. The ITC credit kedikame, you can pay a certain proportion of the tax. Instead of paying a 12%, 28% or 5% tax, you will pay 1% or 2% or 3% of the composite tax. What is the change that is being brought about in this particular finance bill? A very small but very significant change. All e-commerce operators, e-commerce operators now, we have our Amazon, Flipkart, etc., on which is a big platform, there are several small suppliers of both goods and services. Those goods and services, idukku munnala, they were not permitted to go in for composition levy. In the finance bill, they are proposing that people who are providing goods, that is, people who are providing goods can also, on the e-commerce platform, can also apply for the composition levy. Right? That is one change that is being brought, both in the central GST portion as well as the state GST portion. Okay, that was with respect to section 10. The next section of importance for us is section 16. Anybody, what is section 16 about? Sorry? Yeah, input tax credit is one of the most basic and most important sections of our CGST Act itself. The availment or the eligibility of input tax credit. Input tax credit is a very fundamental part of our CGST Act, and it talks about how you can take the credit and how you can offset the credit against your output. The small change that has been brought is with respect to this section 16, subsection 2, where there is a proviso. So I will just explain what the change is before I show you the act. What happens sometimes during the course of trade, an invoice is raised by the supplier, and the receiver usually has a credit time and will not immediately pay the amount to the supplier. Supposing you are providing cement to somebody and the recipient receives the invoice, but for 180 days he does not actually pay the value of the invoice itself, right? So in that case, what the law originally said was, after 180 days, you have to consider that input tax credit as part and add it to your output tax credit. That is, because you have not yet paid for the invoice itself, your input tax credit must be considered as no longer available and put it into your output tax credit. Not only that, you also have to pay interest on this amount of the invoice. On the interest, very small changes. Instead of paying the interest as is, only if you have availed and utilized the input tax credit, then you have to pay the interest. Is anybody familiar with the recent change that has come in section 50 subsection 3? Interest. So the small change or the more important change that was brought recently was with respect to section 50 subsection 3. That is, if you have to pay back interest, only if that interest is availed and utilized. That is, ungakitta oru 2 crores input tax credit irukku. The interest amount that you have to pay is 2.5. That is, it is exceeding, and you have availed that means you have availed that extra 50 lakhs. Then you have to pay. That same thing is being brought into alignment now in the current section 16, and they say that if you have to pay back on that invoice, only if you have utilized and availed your input tax credit do you have to pay it back. This next small change is with respect to section 17. Anybody from that side with respect to what is section 17? Huh? Sorry? Blocked credit. Yes, wonderful. So I think I'm talking to a very well-read and audience. So we'll go on. What is the small budgetary change that has come in with respect to section 17.3 and 17.5, right? Blocking of credit, as Madam has already mentioned, certain small changes have been brought into section 17 subsection 3 as well as section 17 subsection 5. 17.3 talks about blocked credit when, exempted credit when you are supplying the goods after home, when you clear it for home clearance and move it from the warehouse to home clearance. This is with respect to the customs part. If once the goods have been cleared and kept in the warehouse and then they are now cleared for home consumption, on the time supply pandra goods vande they are exempted, they are considered to be exempted category. Another important feature that is changing is with respect to CSR itself. That is your corporate social responsibility. That is being covered under section 17 subsection 5. Earlier, there was no clarity. The law la vande ipo நம்ம corporate social responsibility என்ற ஒரு சர்வீஸ் கொடுத்தோம்னா அதுக்கு வந்து கிரெடிட் இருக்கா இல்லைங்களான்ற ஒரு கிளாரிட்டியே இருக்குல்ல. Now they have clarified that இப்போ CSR கொடுத்தீங்கன்னா that CSR is considered as blocked credit. You cannot take credit on the supply of any service on any supply under CSR. Once again, these are proposed changes. This is not really as yet into law. There will be a debate, but most likely it will be accepted. Exemption from registration, absolutely. Section 22 deals with registration, that is who can take registration. Section 23, yaar vandu registration edukka thevilla. And section 24, mandatory registration. You see, we have a very, very knowledgeable Deputy Commissioner. You have absolutely no worry if you have a unit in either E-Road 1 or E-Road 2 jurisdiction, because he will definitely help you out with all your issues, right? So section 23, that is your section 23, which is talking about exemption from registration. Ninga enna mari business irundingena you can take an exemption from registration. The existing law, the only difference is this portion in red. In the red la potirukka mattum dhaan konjam pudusa add pannirkan, which is notwithstanding anything to the contrary contained in subsection 1 of section 22 or section 24. Basically, section 23 has predominance or priority over section 22, which is registration, and section 24, which is your mandatory registration. So those who are in section 23 mentioned definitely need not take registration. And what are those different categories? Yeah, anybody who is wholly liable to who are exempt from tax, that is part number 1, and also part number 2, any agriculturist to the extent of supply of produce out of the cultivation of land. These two categories are exempted from registration. Okay. Next we come to a set of time limit changes that have been brought into the finance bill, which is with respect to section 37, section 39, section 44 and section 52. Section 37, simple section. Can anybody tell me what it is about? GSTR 1 return. Very good. Yeah, section 37 has to do with GSTR 1 return, and that basically talks about your input or output. Output supply, yes, very, very basic question, so that you don't feel that you're getting lost in the sea of changes. Yes, the only change that is being brought about is there is an addition of another subsection 5, section 37(5), which says that there is a time limit. There is a proposal for 3 years as the time limit for filing your GSTR 1 return. Earlier this was not there in the law, but now it is being introduced. This is how the change looks. They have added a new section, and they also say that the government also reserves the right to make any class of taxpayers as exempt to this rule, and who can file the returns even after a period of 3 years. The same change has been made in section 39, which deals with your GSTR 3B returns. Yes, exactly. The same time limit of 3 years is proposed. What does section 44 deal with? Annual return. Yes, GSTR 9, which is your annual return. Section 52 of the CGST Act. TDS return. Yes, absolutely, absolutely. So in all these 4 categories of returns, there is now a time limit which is being introduced in the law itself, saying that after 3 years from the due date of the filing of the return, you are not permitted to file the return, except if the government makes a special exemption of that particular thing. Next, we talk about two different sections of the CGST Act. Section 54, what does it deal with? Sorry, refund, yes. Refund, which I think is one of the prime things that even Madam has spoken about. We are very timely about the refunds that we are giving, and we are keeping, as Madam has directly said, we are keeping a close scrutiny of the returns, of the refunds that are being given on a daily basis and the time limit that is going on with that. So any change in Section 54, we always pay a huge amount of attention to it. And the small change that is being brought in Section 54 is with respect to Section 54 subsection 6. So the proposed Section 54 does not seem like a very big change. So what it actually says is that there will be an acceptance of the provisionally accepted ITC. There is a small change being made to the Act. If you see here, the excluding the amount of input tax credit provisionally accepted is removed, and then the rest of it contains, and we simply have an inclusion of the blue lettering, I don't know if you can see that from there, as may be prescribed. So what happens to this is, notwithstanding, I'll just read the entire section so that we can get a bit more clarity on what is the change being proposed actually. If you see subsection 6, I'll read it out for you. Notwithstanding anything subsection 5, which is above, the proper officer may, in case of any claim for refund on account of zero-rated supply of goods or services or both made by registered persons, other than such category of registered persons as may be notified by the government, refund on a provisional basis 90% of the total amount so claimed. This is our usual procedure, that first we will refund the 90% claimed, excluding the amount of input tax credit provisionally accepted. This is in with respect to your Section 41, where you have the provision for taking provisionally the input tax credit that you have self-assessed as the credit available to you. So that term is removed in such manner and subject to such conditions, limitations and safeguards. So basically they are acknowledging that Section 41 is in existence and that you are permitted to take provisionally what you self-assess as the credit that is available to you. So it is simply an alignment of the tax to the larger part of the tax, and it doesn't particularly change the procedure itself. Next section is with respect to Section 56. It is talking about the interest that is to be paid on delayed refund. This also has been touched upon by our Commissioner Madam. Interest to be paid upon post the 60-day period. So you have filed your refund return with the CGST or CGST, and you have not got your refund within a period of 60 days. Interest can be paid back to the assessee starting from the early, as it exists today, starting from the day immediately after 60 days. The only change that is being brought in the tax looks like this. It just removes that from the date immediately after the expiry of 60 days, and instead it substitutes for the period of delay beyond 60 days from the date of receipt of such application till the date of refund of such tax to be computed in such manner and subject to such conditions and restrictions as may be prescribed. These wordings were not there earlier. To be computed in such manner and subject to such conditions and restrictions as may be prescribed. அப்படினா இப்போ நம்ம பே பண்ண போற இன்ட்ரெஸ்ட், that is the government pay பண்ண போற இன்ட்ரெஸ்ட் வந்து எந்த மேனர் and எந்த பிரிஸ்கிரிப்ஷன்ல திருப்பி கொடுக்க போறாங்கன்னு அடுத்து வர சேஞ்சஸ்ல தான் நமக்கு தெரியும். So they have just introduced a clause for further expansion of this particular section. As our Balamurugan CA has rightly pointed out, this seems to be more applicable to officers than to the trade, but of course that makes us more responsive. Section 122, what does it deal with? Penalty clause, yes, exactly. Is it still visible? Yes. Section 122 talks about penalty clause. It's a very interesting change that is being brought about. Basically, it is putting the onus on the ECO, that is your e-commerce operator, saying that those goods and services suppliers on the e-commerce operator who are not registered, it will become the onus of the e-commerce operator to make sure that they registered. If they are not, then the penalty will be put on the e-commerce operator at 10,000 rupees or amount equivalent to the amount of tax involved, whichever is higher, which is the usual language of the law. The actual change looks like this. There is an introduction of subclause 1B under section 122 after subsection 1A. Any electronic commerce operator who allows the supply of goods or services or both through it by an unregistered person other than a person exempted from registration by notification, etc., etc., shall be liable to pay a penalty of 10,000 rupees. So it becomes the e-commerce operator's onus to ensure that those who are selling goods or services through him should be registered. So if you look at the larger picture, there seems to be an intention by the lawmaker to bring more and more suppliers of goods and services. Now, e-commerce operators have become very big players within India. Like, immediately we are thinking about going to an e-commerce operator, Amazon or Flipkart. And as we know, there are many small suppliers who are supplying various goods. So there is a huge amount of flow of goods across e-commerce operators. So in the e-commerce operators, konja regulate ahanu. That is the reason that they have brought in section 122, this particular section. Then there is good news for a certain very marginalized section. Section 132, what does it deal with? Absolutely. Prosecution, what we refer to as prosecution. There is decriminalization of prosecution that is being introduced in the finance bill. This is the tendency of the government in general, that we are moving away from decriminalization of various kinds of activities. These three activities, that is 132, 1G, J and K specifically, have been decriminalized, that is removed completely from the ambit of section 132. G talks about, that is, all these things can no longer be considered for prosecution. Obstructs or prevents any officer in the discharge of his duties under this act, tampers with or destroys any material evidence or documents, fails to supply any information which he is required to supply under this act or the rules made thereunder, or supplies false information. So what the government now feels is these are not such heinous acts as to be considered for prosecution. So more and more towards the movement of decriminalization. So the change in the act looks like this. Modalirinde subsections le G, J and K complete remove aayi. Mattade there are small changes to make that adjustment. Next we come to section 138, which anybody remembers what is section 138? Oh, not bad, yeah, absolutely. Compounding of offenses. Very good, absolutely. Compounding of offenses is also being what do I call it, made more towards the more facilitation for the industry. So there is a decrease in the amount or the range of the amount that the commissioner will be putting for the when he or she is compounding the levy. The change is that now it is prescribed at 25%. As in the proposition is from 25% to 100%. Earlier it was 50% to 150%. The change looks like this. It's a little confusing, so I've just shown the entire thing. But what comes in is the last part. I don't think it's visible. Subsection 2. Instead of 50%, they say 25% of the very last line. 25% of the tax involved in the maximum amount not being more than 100%. So, modala vande it was between 50% to 150%. Now it has become 25% to 100%. Okay. Beyond that, does anyone remember what is section 158A? So, section 158 vande pudusa insert agapora section, and it is very important because it says that this section empowers the sharing of information on the common portal with such other systems as may be notified. As we are moving more and more towards digital age, if anybody is utilizing, there is so much penetration of the utilization of mobiles as well as computers, and more of your data, all your government related data, your returns are being filed online, your information is being stored online. So we are as a country moving towards digitalization. So there have to be necessary, regulations that are being put in all the various laws that govern this country. One of them, of course, being the CGST Act. So it says that this section of the CGST Act empowers the sharing of the following kind of information. Information furnished in the application for registration, information furnished in GSTR 3B, in the statement of outward supplies, the details uploaded by them on generation of e-invoice or e-way bill or any other details. So this information, all of this kind of information can be shared, but of course it is only submitted with the consent of the supplier. Additionally, consent of recipient is also required in case of sharing of information related to GSTR 1. So it empowers the department with the consent of the supplier and the recipient to share this online data with any other department. This is the new section that is going to be introduced, and this is how it looks as highlighted in red. And there is one final change in the bill proposed with respect to Schedule 3 of the CGST Act. Schedule 3 deals with what exactly? Does anyone know of the CGST Act? It is basically anything that is neither a supply of goods or services, and that is covered under Schedule 3. Earlier there are certain paragraph 7 and paragraph 8 of Schedule 3, which is now considered to be as if it is with effect from 1/7/2017, although it was introduced sometime in 2018. Okay, the next two, that's it. These are the 14 clauses that are with respect to CGST Act. We'll also quickly just go through the 2 changes that are there in the IGST Act, and those, that's it. That's the complete budgetary changes with respect to CGST and IGST Act. The IGST Act, the changes are with respect to Section 2, subsection 16 and Section 2, subsection 17. Don't worry, I'm not going to ask you what this is about. But primarily it deals with OIDAR. This I will ask you. Does anyone know what is OIDAR? Yes, absolutely. Online information and database access or retrieval services. Okay. So online, once again we have moved into the era of online and digital, right? Because it is something that is becoming more and more crucial to our lives. So they have expanded basically the definition of, if you see the last portion, they have expanded the definition of what is OIDAR. If you see Section 2, subsection 17, online information database access or retrieval service means services whose delivery is mediated by information technology over the internet or an electronic network, and the nature of which renders their supply essentially automated and involving minimal human intervention is now removed. That means even if there is, earlier they thought if it is already automated but it is online, then it should be under OIDAR. But now that is removed. Even if a machine is sending information to another machine, that is being covered under OIDAR. And even if human beings are feeding information on the database, that also is under OIDAR. So it looks like small changes in the CGST Act, but it has sweeping changes with respect to how our digital information will be stored, accessed, and what is the law with respect to storage, retrieval of digital online information. The next section is to do with Section 12, very simple section. Does anyone know what is Section 12 of IGST Act? Anyone this side? Any of my superintendents? Place of supply, yes. This used to be a very important concept when it was introduced in service tax. Place of supply started gaining importance after the introduction of service tax, and there was various laws with various understanding. What if you are moving from one place to another, then where is the supply of goods, and so on and so forth. The small change that is being brought in Section 12 of the IGST Act is that there is the omission of the proviso to Section 12(8) of the IGST Act, so as to remove the confusion with respect to place of availment of supply of goods. This is just basically it is already removing something which does not have an existence in the IGST Act. If you look at the actual change, you will understand. Place of supply of services where location of the supplier and recipient is in India. The proviso is provided that where the transportation of goods is to a place outside India, the place of supply shall be the place of destination of such goods. Basically, it has no place in the Act because it doesn't make too much logical sense to be there, so they have just removed it. So this portion of the amendment is basically to bring the law back in alignment with the rest of the Act. Yes, that's about it. We have tried to give as much detail as possible into the various changes in the CGST Act that have been brought in the budget announce pannirukra changes patti. We have tried to highlight the various changes, and also to show that if you look at the Act, things become a little more simple. It is not that frightening or disturbing, and there aren't too many changes. We are waiting for the council to make the larger changes, and the council will be meeting on February 18th that is next Saturday. And with this, I conclude my part of the presentation. Thank you very much.
Shall we claim ITC in 3B after 11th day of GSTR1? For example, partly filed GSTR1 12th day reflected in 2A but not reflected in 2B. Or second question is quarterly filing person GSTR1 will be filed in 3rd month. ITC will be reflected at the quarter end. Shall we claim ITC same month itself, that is bill date?
Sir, with reference to your query, from 1/1/2022 onwards, whatever be the invoices raised by your supplier up to the date 30th of that particular month will be reflected from your the GSTR 2B return. As everybody know, GSTR 2B is a static return. GSTR 2A is it will be changed automatically dynamic. So if your supplier failed to file his invoice details on or before that particular date 13th, the same will not be get reflected in your return 2B return. Whatever be reflected in return 2B only, you are supposed to take ITC. Next month, suppose if you filed after 13th, 14th, 15th, it will be reflected in the next month your return. Then you can able to avail that ITC during that month only, not to the particular month of that invoice. You request, best course of action is you can request your supplier to file the invoice details on or before 13th if you want to avail ITC on that particular month. Regarding your second query, that person is filing that return once in quarter, there is one facility available, invoice furnishing facility for that quarterly return and monthly payment to the taxpayer. If they are filing that invoice information facility IFF every month, it will be automatically get it reflected into your return GSTR 2B, you can avail ITC. You request your supplier to file their invoice furnishing facility every month so that you can avail your ITC during that particular month.
Is Balasubramaniam our superintendent in Salem CGST office, and he worked here in Erode also. And to supplement him, one thing I want to make it very clear, and please make it a habit. Please take whatever is available in your 2B only as a credit for that month. As Bala suggested, the only recourse for you, I know you have received the goods or services, you might have even made the payment, but that person has to file the return, and that has to come into your 2A, and then from 2A it will go to 2B. So as the cutoff date for that 2A is limited for that month, so whatever is reflected in your 2B is eligible ITC for you. Please don't cross that limit, because if you do that, again there will be a lot of problem with the audit parties. When the audit party visit you, they will, in case you happen to utilize that credit, then there will be interest liability on that. So now the only thing that is available to you as credit is whatever is available is reflected in your 2B only. So your 2A, after your supplies are uploaded after that cutoff date, and that will come to your next month. So don't go beyond 2B at all. This is my very earnest request to all of you, because previously before 1/1/2022, then we had lot of problem with the 2A 3B matching. The credit is not being reflected in 2A. Still, because you have paid for it, you will take it in 3B, and then the audit parties will come and ask you to pay that up. We have very large number of audit objections like this, and also in the written scrutiny and all that, your range officer might also ask. So now the life is bit simpler. So you know what is the credit available to you. You can't check more than that. The only one thing is have a very good rapport with your supplier and ask him to file that within time, so that whatever you have paid for before that cutoff is already available for you to utilize it. If it is not, then it is available to you, but not this month, next month.
ஒன்ஸ் பர்ச்சேஸ் பண்ணும்போது சப்ளையர் வந்து அது கான்ஸ்டியாக இல்லையா ஜிஎஸ்டி இன்வைட் பண்ணுறாரான்னு தெரியல எங்களுக்கு. நாங்கள் பர்ச்சேஸ் பண்ணிங்க நாங்களே அந்த டேக்ஸ் கட்டுற மாதிரி எங்கள் சிஸ்டம் கொடுத்தீங்கன்னா அது நாங்கள் கட்டிட்டு நாங்கள் இன்புட் டேக்ஸ் எடுத்துக்கிறோம். நாங்கள் லாங் டைமாக வந்து நாங்கள் ஃப்ரம் ஃபைனான்ஸ் மினிஸ்ட்ரி எல்லாம் மீட் பண்ணி டெல்லியில் மீட் பண்ணி கொடுத்துக்கிறோம். நீங்களே ஒரு அஃபிஷியல் லெவலில் சொல்லுங்கள். நீங்கள் நாங்கள் ஜிஎஸ்டி வந்து அவங்க பார்ட்டி சப்ளையர் வந்து கட்டுனதை நாங்கள் கட்டிக்கிறோம். வில் பே த ஜிஎஸ்டி கவர்மெண்ட். இது நாங்கள் லாங் டைமாக ரெக்வஸ்ட் பண்ணிக்கிறோம். மினிஸ்டர் மீட்டிங்கில் சொன்னோம், மினிஸ்டர் பட்ஜெட்லேயும் போய் நான் எடிசியை ரெப்ரசன்ட் பண்ணிக்கிறோம். லாங் டைம் மேடம், நீங்கள்லாம் எங்களுக்கு வந்து நீங்கள் ரூல்ஸ் ஆக்டெல்லாம் எங்களுக்கு சொல்கிறீங்க, எங்களுக்கு பிரச்சனையே கணக்கு பெருசாக தெரியும் போது எங்களுக்கு ரூல்ஸ் ஆக்டே எங்களுக்கு என்ன நம்பர் எங்களுக்கு தெரியாமல் எங்களுக்கு சேஞ்ச் ஆகி ஓவராகி போயிட்டுருக்கோம். லாட் ஆஃப் ப்ராப்ளம் எங்களுக்கு பாலிசி மெட்டில் நிறைய ப்ராப்ளம் ஆகுது. அதனால் வந்து இந்த ரெக்வஸ்ட் என்னென்னா நாங்கள் ரெடி டு எங்களுக்கு ஃபுட் இண்டஸ்ட்ரி எல்லா இண்டஸ்ட்ரியெலாம் வந்து எங்கள் பர்ச்சேஸ் பண்ணுற பாம்பேலேருந்து வருது. ஒரு சமயம் வந்து அவர் டேட்டஸ் நம்பர் நேம் சேஞ்ச் பண்ணி தரான். இன்வாய்ஸ் ஒரு கம்பெனியில் இன்னொரு கம்பெனி இன்வாய்ஸ் பண்ணுறான். அவன் டேக்ஸ் பே பண்ணுறானா பே பண்ணலன்னு தெரியல. ஆக்சுவலாக எப்போ எங்களுக்கு 2 months கழிச்சு
லைபிலிட்டி வந்து சர்வீஸ் ப்ரொவைடர் இஸ் சப்போஸ் டு பே த டேக்ஸ் சார்.
ஆமாம்.
ஃபார் 1 or 2 கேட்டகரி ஒன்லி கவர்மெண்ட் கேட்டகாரிகளி RCM மெத்தடில் ரிவர்ஸ் சார்ஜ் மெத்தடில் சர்வீஸ் ரிசீவர் கட்டலாம். சே எக்ஸாம்பிள் வந்து இந்த சர்வீஸ் நம்ம GTA சர்வீஸு சம் லீகல் சர்வீஸ் நீங்கள் ரிசீவ் பண்ணால் கட்டலாம். பட் நார்மலி ஆஸ் பர் தி டேக்ஸ் ப்ரொவிஷன் வந்து சர்வீஸ் ப்ரொவைடர் இஸ் சப்போஸ் டு பே டேக்ஸ்.
சேஞ்ச் பண்ணி கொடுத்தீங்கன்னா நல்லா இருக்கு. நாங்களே பர்ச்சேஸ் பண்ணி நாங்களே பண்ணினா இட்ஸ் ஹெல்ப்ஃபுல்.
Understood your question, and this is a problem not only for you are from the association, right?
Yes, particularly MSME madam, it's a small country.
This is a problem not only for MSME, it is a problem for very big manufacturing SSCs and service SSCs also, because especially this is a problem when you are taking the more than the goods services. Small people will be there, whether they are registered or not, whether they have filed.
Only one major problem madam, actually last we experienced now one time I supply from one company name. Next month if you put the order now, you will supply next some other company name.
Yeah.
That is not registered. That is a problem.
You want to explain? No, the thing is, no, I totally understand this problem, because we this problem is highlighted to us not only from MSME sector, it is across the board for all players. This is a problem, and especially this is a problem when you are getting the services more than the goods, because there are more smaller suppliers in services. But what you are asking is, so because we don't know because there is, for example, a cleaning service, some security service, something you have to hire. You can't really be after them whether they are registered and they have whatever you have paid them, they have filed the return in that month or something. Whether you can take credit of that, and you will have so many suppliers like that. At least goods are limited. You know who are your suppliers are, who are your vendors are. But whereas services, there is a large number of services you will be availing in running your business, and it is really very difficult to keep tab of each one of them, whether they have paid the tax and whether but I'm very sorry to share this is there's no other go, because you cannot pay on their behalf. No entity, no business can pay, because you have taken certain service or goods and you are not sure whether the supplier has paid the tax or not. Okay, whatever is the tax that is there on this, I will pay and I will take the how does it matter, like if you have to pay? And also that provision is available only in the RCM category, what Bala was explaining to you. But that is the law right now. Why this is the law? This because we want to get everyone who is doing a supply to a GST taxpayer to come under the GST net. So he should have a GST registration and he has to file a return. And he is under threshold exemption limit, of course he will not do that. But once he crosses the exemption, that all these transactions have to be accounted in a transparent manner, that is the system we are moving to. So we cannot have a system where you do not know whether your supplier paid the tax or not. So whether maybe he has not paid, so you will pay the tax on his behalf.
Yes.
That is not possible. That is possible
because
only.
Madam, once we paid the payment, no, it's logging the amount. Actually, we are small people, no, our working capital is logging actually. Some 40,000, 50,000. Our endly monthly salary only 40,000 maybe.
That's
so if you
true.
do GST are not available, no, IDs cannot take, no.
That is
how
true.
To pay, how
and
to run
especially when you are taking the service or goods from a MSME sector, then again you have a guideline that you have to make the payment within 3 months, definitely, to them, once a supplier is an MSME. So all these hassles are there, but this is a law. This is what, because slowly we have to help them to go. Otherwise, you have to eliminate him as your supplier. That is all you can do. You cannot do on an RCM basis on his behalf.
But you can recommend the current make the policy matter, no.
Okay,
RCM can system. If
you want to give an representation, you definitely give. We will definitely convey. But I don't think that is not the spirit of the things, because whatever we ask. So for example, suddenly you ask something, no, I don't want online return, I want a physical return. Will that happen? It cannot. It will not. So whatever we ask also, that should be in alignment with what is the policy that is going forward. So anyway, you give your representation, we will definitely take it up.
Sir, regarding RCM on his so-and-so GTA service, you are supposed to pay 5% tax only through electronic cash ledger. After payment of that amount, you are allowed to take ITC. In case your service provider, that GTA, if he discharge GTA tax liability on forward charge mechanism at the rate of 12%, you are allowed to take that ITC. So there is no ambiguity, it seems. You are asking explanation for that. On RCM method, you are supposed to pay 5% tax only through electronic cash ledger. After payment, you can avail ITC on that part. Regarding that, the amendment system itself, the law itself permit to whatever be your output supply, if you want to amount your invoice details, up to the 30th November of next financial year, you can amend the details. That is also permitted in the law.
Third question we received, but it is unnamed. So when we are making e-way bill on weekend or holiday, the goods are reaching after 24 hours. The e-way bill will be expired, and we want this problem should be solved for MSME sector.
I understand your problem, because this is normally we get the query whenever we address the trade. This is a normal query that we get on e-way, one of the common problems in e-way bill. What they say is we are not a 24/7 manufacturing unit or a service provider. We are one business, we close, we work 6 days a week or 5 days a week, normally 6 days a week, all of you work 6 days a week. So what we have booked our transporter to come tomorrow. The consignment will go tomorrow, but now my staff, my office staff, all of them will leave today. So they will do entire paperwork, and they will register the consignment also on the e-way bill portal, because tomorrow to do this, so no employee will come for a Sunday. But whereas the goods can be offloaded from the factory or the warehouse or wherever. So then the transporter will come sometime late in the Sunday or sometime, and then he will deliver either in Monday or Tuesday. So then there is this long gap will come. What will we do? That is the issue, right? But what you are saying is now the system also is smart. Depending on the distance, you have the time limit. Even the shortest distance within 24 hours you have to deliver. So if it is a distance of 200 kilometers, 300 or less than 500 kilometers, even if you have done entire paperwork on Saturday, still it can be delivered on Sunday within 24 hours. But this is the practice that we have right now. But please give your suggestion, because every suggestion is welcome, and maybe we will have some solution to this. And e-way bill portal is developed by NIC in association with DG Systems Bangalore. So they are taking care of this. I will separately write to DG Systems Bangalore, and also to our through our zonal office, principal CCO Tamil Nadu zone, take it up with the board. Please give all your query. You should not fudge the facts, just to have time. Show that vehicle has broken down, and again you will have again update the e-way bill. You should not do that. But logically, what you can procedurally, what is the way out during weekend or a holiday in between. So we please give your suggestion. And you are from Edisha, right? So you collect from Edisha all your points. From Edisha you make a representation, a written representation from Edisha.
Thank you very much, ma'am, for such clarification. Fourth question that we have received is from Shruti S. Niranjana Natraj. Company is Shri Thiller Textile. My husband is running a small scale business whose turnover is not less than 5 crores and not more than 7 crores. And we received a demand notice under section 73 and 74 for not filing GSTR 9C within the due date of filing of return. And we lost our father on 2nd of January 23 due to sudden cardiac arrest, which is the main reason for not filing our returns in the due dates. We have been imposed a penalty of rupees 50,000 for our non-compliance of our duty. Kindly consider our reason for non-compliance and make us some favor. Thanks in advance.
எஸ் மேடம், we have the discretion. உங்களுக்கு பெனால்ட்டி போட்டுருக்காங்கன்னா நீங்கள் நோட்டீஸ் என்னென்ன அந்த பர்சனல் ஹியரிங் கொடுப்பாங்க ஆப்பர்ச்சுனிட்டி, நீங்கள் அப்போ அதில் சப்மிட் பண்ணுங்கள். ரிட்டர்ன்ஸ் நீங்கள் அப் டு டேட் ஃபைல் பண்ணிவிடுங்க. ஃபைல் பண்ணிட்டீங்கன்னா the penalty can be waived by the adjudicating authority.
Okay sir, thank you sir.
That return 9 is compulsory, you have to file annual return, but 9C is not compulsory.
Okay ma'am.
Okay,
Thank you.
so 9 also, that penalty amount can be waived.
Okay ma'am. Thank you ma'am.
Fifth question we have received from one woman entrepreneur. Her name is Srimati S. Baby. So their question is regarding e-way-bill generation. So they have said like that earlier the details of the product sold as we have typed will be seen by us, but now we cannot see what we type. We have to go to the preview and check it. It may be created, so their suggestion, it may be created like we can check the details simultaneously while typing.
சிஸ்டம் ரிலேட்டட் இஷ்யூ. உங்களுடைய கன்சர்னை வந்து we will actually going to take up the matter, escalate the matter to the DG system through our zonal chief commissioner. As of now, front end இந்த issue இருக்கிறது now only we come across.
So what you are saying is, while the first thing is one thing we have to understand, okay, e-way bill, when you are typing, your name is not reflecting, the company name is not reflecting in the portal.
No ma'am, that is not like that. While typing the details of say for example if we supply table, if we type table it's reflected, but later on it's not the HSN code and the quantity and the amount, it is not we can't see while typing, we can't see. So we have to just type. We thought that நம்ம கரெக்டாக தான் டைப் பண்ணுறோம் அப்படின்னு நினச்சிட்டே டைப் பண்ணுங்க. ஸோ அதுக்கப்புறம் ப்ரிவ்யூ போய் பார்த்தா தான் we can check the details. ஸோ ஃபர்ஸ்ட் இருந்தபோது பார்த்தீங்கன்னா simultaneously நம்ம டைப் பண்ணுறோம்.
But when you preview, you can see the details.
Yes ma'am, after typing all the details only we can go to the preview and we can check it.
Okay.
So நம்ம டைப் பண்ணுற போதே simultaneous-ஆ இருந்துச்சுன்னா it is more useful.
Next question we have received from Shri C. Shanmuga Priya and Gofilavani. Question is, respected ma'am, in our office we have encountered some technical issues while uploading JSON file in filing GSTR1. Is there any criteria like number of digits for uploading HSN in portal? And second part is for GST export refund, there is an option without payment of tax and with payment of tax. In case of without payment of tax, there is need for LUT. Now my question is about what is the procedure to convert from LUT to with payment of tax for GST export refund?
நீங்கள் இந்த டிக்கெட் தான் வித் ஹெல்ப் டெஸ்க் வந்து சிபிஇசி மித்ரால் ஹெல்ப் டெஸ்க் பற்றி என்ன டிஃபிகல்ட்டின்னு சொல்லிட்டு யூ ஹவ் டு இன்ஃபார்ம் தம் பை ரேசிங் டிக்கெட்ஸ். இன் ரெஸ்பெக்ட் ஆஃப் யுவர் செகண்ட் query.
Again there are two lady entrepreneurs here. Who are they? Can we? Yeah. What is your business? Huh? Oh, you are CA students. Okay, then this is only a theoretical question. Okay, then what you said was maybe not only theoretical question. Maybe you are advising your clients. Maybe you are working with your senior. So in IGST refund, when export for refund, there are two options available: with payment of duty and without payment of duty. And when you are, one thing very important while you are raising an export invoice is whatever you are doing the export invoice exactly, there is a shipping bill. For an export, a shipping bill will be filed. That will be a CHA will be doing that. So whatever is your invoice says, that the same information will be carried in the shipping bill. So once the invoice is raised and the shipping bill is raised and put it in the ICE gate system where all this process happens online for customs, the details cannot be changed. So once you choose as without payment of duty, that means you have to execute an LUT and you debit that amount from the LUT, and then without payment, without any debit from your ITC ledger, you will just send the goods, and that exactly the information that will be reflected in your shipping bill. And then shipping bill is filed along with invoice. Goods reach any port, and from there they are exported. Once the goods are exported, there is something called an EGM, export general manifest, that is filed by the liner. Liner means whoever is taking those shipper or somebody. There is a lot of procedure for it. Once that EGM is filed, that is the entire process is electronic. the ECM is matched with the shipping bill number. So every ECM will have a shipping bill number. That ECM number will be matched with this shipping bill number. So once a shipping bill is filed, ECM is filed and the matching happens, you cannot make any amendment. There cannot be any change. So you have to decide in advance whether you want to clear these goods with payment of duty, with debit under ITC, and then with payment of duty under claim for IGST refund with debit your ITC, then it will be processed as IGST refund shipping bill. So it will be processed by GSTN and again it will come back to IGST IceGate portal, and that amount automatically gets credited to your bank account, which is registered with GSTN at the time of your registration. So this is a very complex and completely electronic process, and there are a lot of checks and balances in this. So not only this is a very good, thank you for this question. This is a very good question applicable to all of you because it's Erode is an export intensive jurisdiction. So please make up your mind whether this consignment is with payment of duty, with IGST refund or without payment of duty. Then there is no IGST refund, nothing there. So that has to be decided first, and then the invoice has to be raised, and then the goods have to be sent to the port of export or an ICD wherever you are exporting from, and then your CHA will raise the shipping bill accordingly. So this is a lot of attention has to be paid to this, because once it is done, one option is chosen, the other option cannot be chosen.
Next question is from Mrs. Parveena. It's regarding exports only. Question is, I have a major doubt while applying refund. While calculating refund, the proportion taken is price of goods instead of total invoice value, so that I lose half of my inputs as refund and inputs carried forward without utilizing. Please explain how to resolve this. Just read question once again. So their doubt is, while calculating refund, the proportion taken is price of goods instead of total invoice value. That is like CF, sometimes like exporters indulge in CF contract and CIF contracts. So that the taxpayer is saying I lose half of my inputs as refund and inputs carried forward without utilizing. Please explain how to resolve this.
While calculating refund for exports, we have to consider the FOB value only as per board circular. It's detailed in 125/44 of 2019.
One of my client is doing exports. If refund is given only based on FOB value, but in invoice it is included FOB goods value plus service value. So refund is collected only for that FOB value. Balance amount remain as GST inputs. So inputs carry forward throughout the year. So how to collect the balance inputs, or how to use that?
For the purpose of arriving actual turnover of so-and-so supply, zero rated supply, as per board extent instructions, FOB value alone can be taken for that purpose. We can't go beyond that.
Not FOB. FOB versus invoice value, whichever is less.
Whichever is less than namakku refund varum.
Or invoice will be CIF, or invoice could be C and F. C is cost plus freight,
clearing and
cost plus insurance and freight. But export refund is on only FOB value.
Okay.
So your cost again, your freight and insurance, you are eligible for ITC only within India. So freight and insurance overseas, you are not eligible for ITC. So this part of it you have to utilize for your domestic clearances.
But
or if you have any, 1 minute, let me go. If you have any unutilized credit for the domestic component of it, again you will apply to the division whatever jurisdictional CGST officer for unutilized credit.
Okay.
That is a separate, that part also within whatever you have incurred within India, you can get it back.
Okay.
But whereas export IGST refund is only an FOB value.
Okay.
This one unutilized credit for export product, for freight and insurance within India, you will get it separately. As unutilized. Anytime you have exporting, you are not claiming the IGST refund, but you can file refund of the unutilized credit also. you are filing it with the state government and with us also. Like that you can get back that amount. But what are the expenses within India only?
Okay. Thank you.
Add on to that, the accumulated credit, there is a separate head for claiming of refund, that is excess balance in inverted tax structure and excess balance in electronic credit ledger also. Both is
for organizing the outreach program, being proactive in explaining the budget changes and coming to our place, and I also thank for giving me an opportunity. Even though I qualified almost more than 20 years ago, I was reminded of my student days due to the various questions raised by our speaker. Now I would like to place certain changes with respect to the policy, various difficulties faced by the trade as well as our chartered accountant community. Myself, I am CA Krishna Kumar. I am practicing in Erode. The first one is with respect to the ITC, which member from Kodisha has also raised. So section 16(2) clause C says the payment of tax should be made by the supplier, then only we are eligible to claim credit. As of now, I hope everybody should be aware, there is no provision to check whether the payment has been made or not by the supplier. So to keep a provision in the act for which we cannot ensure whether it is complied by the other person, I don't think it is neither practically correct nor ethically it is viable. So trade are facing lot of difficulties. Moreover, we are making a purchase from a particular person. After completing the transaction and collecting the tax and the amount due for the supplies, if the supplier runs away or close down his business or some death or some kind of exigencies happen, it is not at all in our control to see that that payment is made by the other person. Now the act casts the responsibility on the recipient of that supply, whether it is goods or services, to make good the taxes. So which is practically not possible, and ease of doing business, and at the time of introduction of GST it was told that there will be the flow of credit will be very smooth. So I think this provision is against those two aspects. So I request Honorable Commissioner to, even though it is not a new issue, it is already in various forums, but I think since we have got an opportunity to highlight once again from our division. The second proviso to the same subsection 2 and clause C is that payment should be made within 180 days. The same issue is now brought in the budget amendment in income tax also. The trade which regularly asks our clients, which asks them frequently, is that, sir, why should the government stipulate a time period for making payment when we ourselves agree between us to make the payment in 1 year or say after 180 days or something like that. Now the provision is introduced in income tax also in section 43B, stating that the payment should be made within 45 days if you have an agreement with an MSME. If you don't have an agreement with an MSME, you need to make the payment within 15 days. So actually this is an agreement between the buyer and seller. When the seller is interested to give you goods for a credit of 220 days, for that he might have included in the price. But the act says you have to make payment within 180 days in GST and 15 days or oblique 45 days in income tax. I don't think why should the policy should interfere between the trade transaction and stipulating certain conditions. We have to reverse the credit, again reclaim it. If we forget to reverse it or if we don't take into account, we will be levied with the interest. So I think this can be taken care. Another aspect is Rule 37A. So where it is given that now section 16(2) clause C told that the supplier should have made the payment of tax. That itself is difficult to comply. Now section Rule 37A says the supplier should have filed the respective GST or 3B within the September of the following financial year. Say for example September 2023, you have March 2023 we have bought certain goods from a person. That March 2023 3B return should have been filed within September 2023 by that concerned supplier. If he has not filed it, we are supposed to reverse the credit. Whether he has filed or not, we will be able to see through the search taxpayer option, we can see. But if he had filed a nil return, we will not be able to see. And moreover, as a matter of ease of doing business, this should not be our business of monitoring the supplier regularly. whether he is doing compliance with all the provisions of the act, because the businessmen will be very busy in doing their business. So I think this should also be taken into account. Apart from that, request mostly from the trading community as well as from our professional bodies is that certain amnesty scheme should be introduced for the late fee levied for the final return. So in the initial years of 17-18, 18-19, 19-20, people were very much difficult with absorption of various provisions of the act, new introduction, lot of extension, lot of confusions. So actually if you see in section 73 and 74, department has got a time of 5 years to get back to you for any omission for section 74, and 73 they have got a time of 3 years. 3 months notice period is there. But we are given a specific time, and the late fee is running into lakhs of rupees, and the profit itself or the margin itself will not be there. I do agree that the failure to file an annual return is there. There is no doubt about it, or there is no second opinion about it. But I think the government should try to see the compliance with the provision of law rather than recovering various late fees. It will then it itself will run into a kind of collecting more revenue in the form of late fees rather than by way of compliance. So I personally request to introduce certain amnesty scheme for all the annual returns except the financial year 21-22. Maybe some kind of relief may be given to the trading community, and moreover the late fee should also be kept at a minimum level. Like if you are blocking the login for filing subsequent returns, the trader will immediately file the return. So now previously it was 3 months. If you don't file the return, you cannot generate available and other things. Gradually they have reduced to 1 month. Now if you don't file a particular month's return, more than 1 month return is pending, you cannot file next period GST or 1. So your recipient will not keep mum. He will ask, it is not reflected in my 2B, so you please file your return. So like that also we can make change for annual return, so that the compliance needs to be enforced rather than the collection of late fee and penalty. So that is one request. And overall amnesty scheme is also expected from department. Most of us, including trade, were expecting some kind of amnesty scheme for the various pending returns in the budget. Hopefully maybe the GST council will give it. And like in income tax, Vishwas say that Vivad se Vishwas, that scheme was there. So we do expect or recommend or request, we cannot recommend, sorry, we request the department to introduce such a scheme, because there are a lot of notices due to the various reasons. As you may be aware that the provision was not that much clear, and neither department nor trade were that much acquaintance with the provisions to comply with various regulations, whether it is willing or willful default or whatever it is. There is some kind of default, so some kind of this amnesty scheme can be given, which will be beneficial, win-win situation for both persons involved. Similarly, for revocation of cancelled GST and also some kind of amnesty scheme is expected, so that the people will lose their original GSTN number, and whenever we go for another registration, lot of conditions are put, and we cannot do anything about the GSTN which is already cancelled. I hope I covered all the points, and I will also make it as a list of recommendation for the kind consideration of the Commissioner.
And last especially your amnesty over late fees, maybe under consideration. We will wait and see the GST Council's meeting deliberations. But we really understand this problem, because from as you said, from 1/1/22 onwards, the stipulation is you can't file a return unless you file your 3B, unless you file your GSTR 1. And unless you file the GSTR 3B next month's GSTR 1, you cannot file. So this cycle is really put lot of things in place, and we see lot of improvement in return filing compliance because of this provision. But before that period, because there is no such condition, and especially when the GST is stabilizing in 17, 18, 19, 20 during pandemic time, and till even spilling into 21, there are a lot of defaults in filing return, and now they want to file the return and regularize it, but late fee is onerous till 19. So please, we will take it up your suggestion. If it is not come in this council meeting, maybe we can keep on asking for it, and then maybe it will come later. So we will definitely take it up for amnesty for late fee. But coming to your first point, I do not see much hope in that, because what you are saying is, how am I responsible for complaints of my supplier? Whether I have done everything, I have received the goods or services, I have paid to him, and I have used those goods and services, I have shown in my all my financial records, then why cannot I take the ITC? How do I keep on monitoring my suppliers? But you know what? You know the principle behind credit is what? What are you taking the credit? You are taking the credit of duty already paid. Because there should not be duty on duty, there should not be cascading effect of the duties. So how can we expect that I will not monitor my supplier? I do not know. First thing is, it's a KYC. Know your customer and know your supplier. You need to know that your supplier has paid the duty, tax on the supplies made to you. Then only that is eligible to you as credit. Just because you paid that tax amount to him doesn't entitle you to that credit. That necessarily has to be paid to the government exchequer. That is public money. Something that has not gone to the public, but still you are not eligible to take the credit of that money. Right? So it is very, and then how do you know? Another thing you are asking me, how do I know that guy has paid the tax? You will very well know from your own record, which is reflected in your 2A. When that person files a 3B, only that comes into your 2A. So it is very important that you will take, now it is frozen, right? 2A is dynamic, it will keep on changing as they are filing the returns. But now what are you eligible to take the credit? Only 2B. So whatever is there in 2A, whatever is in 3B, you can you are availing whatever you have paid for, whatever you are reflecting yourself in 3B, that what you have actually paid for. There is a proof that you have paid that amount. But there is no proof that that amount has actually gone to the public to which it is due. So it's very important that every month you have to monitor the supplier, that amount. If that is not coming into A, you will not use that supplier. You cannot. Otherwise, you lose the ITC. If you keep on, you want to take that supplies, you lose your ITC. There's no, if you want to give it in writing, you may, but I do not see any kind of simplification or rationalization or any kind of concession on that part. How can you expect a credit on goods or services for which duty is not paid? And there is a time limit for that. Second thing, coming to the time limit part. You are saying, why should I have this condition that I have to pay within 180 days? And when it is supply from MSME Act says you have to pay to the MSME within 45 days. Why should I have this condition? This is between me and my supplier. I can have 6 months, I can have 365 days, I can have 2 years. It is between me and him. Why do you interfere? This is one thing. Again, whatever is done, and you are comparing it with the income tax thing, which is brought into Income Tax Act now in this budget, which is going to be enacted, that finance bill. I am not commenting on the income tax because I have no locus standi to say anything about the income tax provisions. But about GST, let me share this with you. Why the time limit is very important. Why you are responsible for that adhering to time limit? Because you cannot say I can contract anything with my supplier. This provision has been made in everything that government does is in public interest. All these notifications, all these enactments, we are collecting the money for what? For the public. This is our money. So in a public interest, one stipulation is made that you have to pay. because to encourage, because there is a lot of a power disparity. There could be power disparity between buyer and seller. Seller, a big business entity will keep on procuring goods and services from small scale sellers and say, no, you will supply to me, I will pay to you after 365 days. Because that's my policy, that's what I contract with you. The small guy would think what? Okay, let me have some business, let me run my business. I will adjust my pricing accordingly, keeping into account that I will get my payment only after 1 year or after 2 years. That could be a contract. But no, we want, why this MSME Act says that MSME people have to be paid within 45 days? That's very important to promote the MSME sector and to ensure the payment to the suppliers. So it is very important when you bought goods and services, there is a reasonable time that you make the payment. And if you don't make the payment, what do? You would reverse whatever the credit you have taken. Previously, you would pay interest also for the time that you have enjoyed that credit without you paying if you imagine, we are in the first step, we are talking about you paid the tax, but that person has not paid the tax, filed the return, and it has not reflected in 2A. Here, you have not paid to him, and how do you expect that supplier to pay the tax, and then that will get reflected in your 2A, and then again you will take credit? It's not fair. So, what is the remedy for it? Remedy is also very, very reasonable. What is it saying? After 180, you have 6 months time to pay. Not to MSME, MSME is 45 days for other suppliers. And after you reverse the ITC, and if this credit amount is shown in your ITC balance continuously without ITC balance getting dipped less than this amount, you don't have to pay interest. Is a new change in this budget. Previously, you have to automatically pay interest whether the ITC balance is there or not. Wherever you have enjoyed the credit without payment to your supplier, you have to pay. You have to reverse after 180 days and pay interest. And once you pay to him and that person files the return and it gets reflected in your 2A, then you can again take it back. So nothing, you are not being denied the credit. It is only to ensure timely, reasonable time to pay to your supplier so that all the business transactions move smoothly, and there should not be too much of a disparity between, a major manufacturer and service providers calling shots, making terms which are very favorable to them and less favorable to the small scale sector. So this is in everybody's interest, and a big person is not put to that much loss. So it is very important that we make our obligations in time, and these obligations have reasonable time, and government is empowered to make these conditions in public interest. So that is my take on your second thing about the 180 days. And one more third thing you said about continuously keep monitoring, that you don't have to keep monitoring, that your 2A itself is an indication to you whether that person has paid the duty or not. I am not talking about other MSME sector or any other sector, but I because I have dealt with major taxpayers when I am doing my audit stint in Chennai. One very major auto manufacturer, he's a multinational, it's a foreign auto manufacturer. They have a due diligence standard that they will not take any credit in their 3B unless 2A, it is getting reflected in their 2A. Even before this 2B thingy has come, they were doing that. So I think we would all of us have to go to that standard of taking our credit. So taking this credit very, very seriously, and slowly you can see how we have moved from 2017 to 2023. How much is the GST revenue in 2017 or 2018? Now how much is it now? It is not even 60,000 crores in 18. One full year of GST. 18-19. Now it is last month it was 1,56,000 crores. Now 1,50,000 crores of GST revenue is becoming a norm. How is it? And how many taxpayers, our taxpayers, GST multiplied like n times. How many and same thing with the state. How many people are in tax net now? Tremendous amount of transparency is happening, and the transactions are online, and how much online transactions, how many e-way bills, how many invoices, tremendous, and nothing is difficult now. In 7 years, how far we have traveled, unimaginable strides we have made in GST. So we can't go back, we will only go forward. So all of us will come into this compliance standard which is already a norm, and we'll get used to that norm. So don't worry about I am wasting my time in monitoring my supplier. No, you will not be, because you just look your 2A and tell your supplier. They will understand, they will know very much that they will not get the business unless they file the 3B, file the tax. And as far as your late fee, and one more thing about amnesty on non-filing of 9. Many people have not filed 9. So that's a very welcome suggestion. Please give your suggestions also. Thank you so much.
Very much for that question, because sir, you have put very good question from taxpayers perspective, and a very reasonable and logical place from Commissioner Madam. It has certainly brought very much depth to this discussion and meeting.
Should not be again recovered from the recipient. At least that should be maybe, if possible, it can be for as a policy level we can.
Temporary. If it is not you okay, from the supplier you are
because
you have paid, but supplier has not
paid. But now the people are somewhat accustomed to ensure that the payment has been made by the supplier. As you say, over a period of 6 years they are accustomed, and only after the reflection of 2B we are taking the credit. That is fine. But if at all he has not at all paid, or he has disappeared, means again to make the payment by the recipient is somewhat very difficult. For that any possibility is there, we can consider as a request. Thank you.
I am from Royal Wings accountant, madam. I have a TRAN-on file in 17-18. Some technical glitches is there then at the time of TRAN-on filing. Some taxable amount 32 lakhs 98,000 something. Some cases are going on in the High Court. The High Court a judgment is coming on last year. You take a tax credit in TRAN-on amount. Then TRAN-on amount is not eligible for traders is there. It's telling them, but TRAN-on வந்து நம்ம எடுத்துக்கலாம் அப்படிங்கிற மாதிரி சொல்லிட்டாங்க. நாமளும் அதுக்கு வந்து எல்லாவோட டாக்குமெண்ட்ஸும் கொடுத்துட்டோம். கொடுத்து இப்போ எடுத்துக்கலாம்னு சொல்லிட்டாங்க. இப்போ என்னென்னா என்னோட கொஸ்டின் வந்து நாம் வந்து பே பண்ணும்போது சார் நம்ம லைபிள் சம் டேக்ஸ் வந்து லைபிள் அப்படிங்கிறப்போ கவர்மெண்ட் வந்து சம் 18% இன்ட்ரெஸ்ட் உண்டு நீங்கள் லேட்டாக பேமெண்ட் பண்ண அப்படின்னு சொல்கிறாங்க. இதே 32 lakhs வந்து எனக்கு வந்து இது கிட்டத்தட்ட ஒரு 4 yearsஆக வந்து எனக்கு அவுட்ஸ்டாண்டிங்கில் நிற்குது. அவுட்ஸ்டாண்டிங் நிற்கிறப்போ கவர்மெண்ட் வந்து இப்போ தான் ஜட்ஜ்மெண்ட் கொடுத்துருக்காங்க, நீங்கள் இப்போ யூஸ் பண்ணிக்கலாம் அப்படின்னு சொல்லி. அப்போது அந்த 32 lakhsக்கு எனக்கு கவர்மெண்ட் இன்ட்ரெஸ்ட் தருவாங்களா? அடுத்து இன்னொரு கொஸ்டின் வந்து கவர்மெண்ட் வந்து 18% வந்து இன்ட்ரெஸ்ட் சொல்கிறாங்க. இப்போ இருக்கிற பிஸ்னஸ் சுச்சுவேஷனில் எல்லாத்துக்கும் தெரியும், பிஸ்னஸ் பீப்புள்ஸ்க்கெல்லாம் தெரியும் என்ன வருமானம் வருதுங்கிறது. இதில் வந்து நான் 1.5 வட்டி நான் கட்ட முடியுமா? இவ்வளோ அமௌண்ட்டுக்கு வந்து நான் 1.5 வட்டி எப்படி கட்டுறது? எனக்கு அது வந்து இன்னும் கொஞ்சம் நீங்கள் கம்மி பண்ணி தந்தால் பரவாயில்லன்னு தோணுது. ஒரு 6% ஆர் 4% அது மாதிரி பண்ணி கொடுங்க. நீங்கள் கட்ட வேணாம்னு நான் சொல்லலை, எங்களுக்கு இன்னும் கம்மி பண்ணி கொடுத்து எங்கள் பிஸ்னஸ் பீப்புள்ஸுக்கும் நல்லா இருக்கும். எங்கள் முதலாளிட்டு நாங்களும் கொஞ்சம் பேச முடியும், அவங்களும் பிஸ்னஸ் பண்ணுவாங்க, எங்களுக்கு ஒரு 10 பேருக்கு வேலை கொடுப்பாங்க.
இல்லை, உங்களோட இஷ்யூ வந்து ஃபஸ்ட்டு நீங்கள் TRAN-1 அப்ளிகேஷன் ஃபைல் பண்ணும்போது உங்களுக்கு ஃபைல் பண்ண முடியல இல்லையா?
டெக்னிக்கல்.
அப்புறம் நீங்கள் GSTR 9ல காட்டி அது எடுத்துட்டு இருக்கீங்க இல்லையா?
யூஸ் பண்ணல பிகாஸ் இட்ஸ் a liable. அது
இல்லை, உங்களுக்கு வந்து அது உங்கள் லெட்ஜர்லேயே வரலன்னா நீங்கள் அப்படி அது எப்படி எடுத்துக்கலாம்?
இல்லை, நாங்கள் எடுத்துக்கல, அதை யூஸ் பண்ணலை. இப்போ வந்து GSTR 9ல வந்து நாங்கள் யூஸ் பண்ணுறதுக்கு வந்து நீங்கள் பிகாஸ் டேக்ஸ் இன்ட்ரெஸ்ட் கட்டணும் அப்படின்னு சொல்லிட்டீங்க. நாங்கள் வந்து நீங்கள் கிரெடிட் கொடுத்தால் மட்டுமே நாங்கள் யூஸ் பண்ண முடியும். பட் நீங்கள் கிரெடிட் கொடுக்கல, நாங்கள் யூஸும் பண்ணல. பட் அந்த நேரேஷனில் சொல்லியிருக்கோம் இது மாதிரி எங்களுக்கு வர வேண்டி இருக்குது, கேசஸ் போயிட்டுருக்கு, நாங்கள் வந்து பின்னாடி நாங்கள் யூஸ் பண்ணிக்கிறோம் இதை வச்சு அப்படின்னு சொல்லியிருக்கோம். பட் நாங்கள் யூஸ் பண்ணவே இல்லை.
இப்போ நியூ TRAN-1 அப்ளிகேஷன் நீங்கள் ஃபைல் பண்ணிட்டீங்க இல்லையா? அதில் வந்து உங்களுக்கு எலிஜிபிள் ஆனோடனே உங்கள் லெட்ஜரில் ரிஃப்ளெக்ட் ஆகும், அப்புறம் நீங்கள் அதை அவைல் பண்ணிக்கலாம்.
ஓகே இல்லை, என்னோட சஜஷன் என்னென்னா வந்து இப்போ இவ்வளோ காலமாக நம்ம வச்சு இப்போ தான் ஜட்ஜ்மெண்ட் வந்திருக்கு, அதுக்கான இன்ட்ரெஸ்ட் வந்து கவர்மெண்ட் வந்து எங்களுக்கு தருமா? எங்களை இன்ட்ரெஸ்ட் கேட்குறீங்கல்ல பிஸ்னஸ் பீப்புளாக, கவர்மெண்ட்
இல்லை நீங்கள் கேட்குறது புரியுது. but larger interest பார்க்கணும். That is from the government side. See, first GST introduce ஆனதும் there were a lot of issues இல்லைங்களா?
Yes, madam.
And the lot of issues are also because வந்து நிறைய transactions digitally. Okay, இப்போ இந்த மாதிரி when we open a something where the government is paying back the interest, there will be immediately 1,000 or 10,000 people popping up who create this fiction. புரியுதுங்களா?
Okay.
They will create the fiction. Then what will happen is when we look at data in a large scale, it will not be possible to identify yaar actually authentic unga mari there is an issue and how many of them are fake. So that is the point. See, நம்ம வந்து we are moving into an era where we are talking, as madam has rightly said, there are now millions of people who are paying tax. Yes, there are issues, there are legal issues, நீங்க சொன்ன மாதிரி there are also policy issues, எல்லாமே we are taking up. There are digital issues, there are issues because of IT. Correctingla? Yes. We will fix those issues. Ana, when we open a point where it can be very badly taken advantage of, that I don't think the government will like to encourage. Then imagine the number of litigation மறுபடியும் போகும், மறுபடியும் it will come down. இல்லைங்களா?
% ஹையாவே இருந்துட்டு போட்டோம். நீங்க இப்போ 45 நாள் கழிச்சு சில பேருக்கு நாங்கள் 6 மாதம் கழிச்சு கட்டலான்னு இருக்குது. ஆனால் நான் ரிட்டர்ன் ஃபைல் பண்ணும்போது கிளைம் பண்ணலாம் இல்லையா? பட் ஆஸ் ஆல் ஆஸ் சப்ளையர் பே பண்ண வரைக்கும் எங்களுக்கு எலிஜிபிலிட்டி இல்லை. இன்கேஸ் ஹி ஃபெயில்டு, இன்கேஸ் நான் லோன் வாங்குகிறேன், ஜாமீன் போடுறேன், லோன் வாங்குற ஓடி போயிட்டார், நான் தான் கட்டணும். அதே மாதிரி ஜிஎஸ்டியில் நான் கட்டணும் மாதிரி வைக்கிறீங்க இல்லையா ரூல்ஸு? ஆனால் அது தப்பு. சட்டப்படி நேச்சுரல் ஜஸ்டிஸ் படி இதுவே தப்பு. அதாவது ஜிஎஸ்டியில் இருக்கிற சட்டத்தில் இருக்கிற மிகப்பெரிய ஓட்டை இது. இந்த ஓட்டையை அடைக்கணும். புரியுதுங்களா? அப்புறம் நீங்கள் மட்டும் நாங்கள் டிலேயாக ரிட்டர்ன் ஃபைல் பண்ணவோ டேக்ஸ் கட்டும்போது 18% சார்ஜ் பண்ணுறீங்க. அதே மாதிரி நீங்கள் எனக்கு ரீஃபண்ட் பண்ணும்போது ஏன் அந்த 18% திருப்பி கொடுக்கக்கூடாது? நியாயமா இல்லையா நான் கேட்குறது? திஸ் இஸ் நேச்சுரல் ஜஸ்டிஸ். எனக்கு தனிப்பட்ட முறையில் நான் கேட்கவில்லை. திஸ் இஸ் நேச்சுரல் ஜஸ்டிஸ். சமூக நீதிப்படியும் சட்டப்படியும் நீங்கள் வாங்கினதை எங்களுக்கு திருப்பி கொடுக்க வேண்டிய கட்டாயமும் கடமையும் உங்களுக்கு உள்ளது. As you agreed or not? Yes, we will give these suggestions in EDCA through EDCA. Okay. Another policy matter, as far as the rate of GST is concerned, in some cases it was very exorbitant. அதாவது சாராயத்துக்கும் பீடி சிகரெட்டுக்கு எவ்வளோ வேணாலும் வச்சுக்கோங்க. ஆனால் காமன் மேன் யூஸ் பண்ணுற சம் மெஷினரிஸ், பல மெஷினரிஸுக்கு 18% போடுறீங்க. இது 1/6 மேலே. இதெல்லாம் பாலிசி மேட்டரை தயவு செஞ்சு எடுத்துக்கொண்டு அதை குறைக்கலாம். அப்புறம் நாங்கள் யூஸ் பண்ணுற ஒரு மெஷின் பல்வரைசர், அதாவது பவுடர் மேக்கிங் மெஷின், it was 5% GST previously. Now the pulverizer making industry is charging 18%. Which one is correct? 5% or 18%? Please clarify. அதாவது பவுடர் மேக்கிங் மெஷினுக்கு 5% 18% GST. இதுக்கு முன்னாடி நான் மெஷின் வாங்கினேன், 18 வாங்கும்போது 5% தான் GST போட்டாங்க. போன வருஷம் நான் வாங்கும்போது 18% போடுறாங்க. இதில் எது கரெக்ட்? Please clarify.
I can understand as a taxpayer, because we are also taxpayers, income taxpayers. I think, oh my God, 30% income tax is too much for me. Why should I pay? I'm a salaried employee. Every paisa I am earning is reflected in my return. And there are so many business people are 42% and everything they spend, they show as an expense, and corporates get, though it is on 42%, finally they end up actually effective corporate tax they pay about 10%. So why such big businesses are paying so much? Why I'm a small employee, I am paying this much, 30%?
One is we're belonging to Rule 86 capital B. Actually, I am the prompt taxpayer. I have the excess ITC, more than in which I utilized I have. But what is the motto of that 1% I didn't use? 99% restriction is there, na? Capital B of 86. So what is the motto? That is some cash flow is my liquidity is affected. For example, I have a more than 2 crore 3 crore in ITC. But still I have to pay through cash ledger. What is the motto behind that one? I don't know. I don't think this is an successful one, because all the ITC I have to kept to maybe, and I get through refund route. Still I have a lot of ITC carry forward from beginning, maybe, and just like 2017 itself I have carry forward ITC. What is the motto of that 1%? Kindly escalate those things. They have to nullify that rule, I think so. That's one, ma'am. Second one is in same as rule 88 capital B. This is the some crucial matter. The amount in which I paid through cash ledger, paid on or before the due date or at the time of due date, but interest will be leviable on under section 50 subsection 1 up to date of adjustment. That is meant up to date of nullify filing of my return. That is the thing. First one, I have to debited from my cash bank account. Cash ledger is credited. So I have, my intention is I have to pay something to tax. So at the time I didn't use that one. I paid to my cash ledger. Whenever I debited from the cash ledger only, interest will be nullified. That is the some lacuna is there, I think so. Once I bank account is debited means my obligated is gone. The officer also is overriding with our cash ledger. I didn't take just like that. I take the get back from cash ledger to bank. It's not at all possible in practical one. So once I will giving to the cash tax regime. Once my bank account will be debited, then again my money go to the tax regime, but interest will be fall. Even I have cascading with the punishment. Once I have filed the return belatedly, I have paid the late fees itself. So I have committed only one thing. I have committed in late filing, that I have punished with or affected with one fee. Why should I have to pay interest? That is the main thing, ma'am. That is the thing. That is damn technical one, but we have to consider that two things. Practically is there, ma'am. Practically lot of person is complaints in due date, they make a payment in due date, but at the time of adjustment, I say it will give them, ma'am. No issue. We have list, ma'am. More than 30 is there like this. Definitely, ma'am. Okay.
Respected Commissioner Madam, Joint Commissioner Madam, dignitaries on stage from ICAI and office bearers of EDICIA, and my dear friends, we have come to the close of today's program. On this occasion, I would like to convey heartfelt thanks to our Commissioner Madam for making this program a reality, for envisioning this program, and for choosing E-Road for the benefit of trade and industry in E-Road. And I thank the Joint Commissioner Madam for the excellent, wonderful and enriching presentation that conveys the for briefing the changes that are introduced in the budget of financial year 23-24. And I thank the ex-chairman Mr. Balamurugan, CA of ICAI, and the secretary Mr. CA Ramachandran for organizing this event so wonderfully, and for the arrangements made, and to make this event a grand success. And I thank Mr. Tirumurthy, President EDICIA, and the Joint Secretary of EDICIA Mr. Saravana Babu, and for the members of ICA and members of EDICIA for actively participating. And I convey my heartfelt thanks to all the participants who raised so many questions, and I thank the panelists for answering. And once again, I thank one and all for making this event a huge success. Thank you.